Welcome to Stringham Real Estate Edge. Today's guest is Jody Jones, President of the Salt Lake Chapter of CCIM. Hi, Jody.
Hi, Gary.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're
Thanks
delighted to
for
have you as our guest. Jody, how long have you been in the real estate business?
I'm a fairly newbie, about 6 years.
6 years, and all in commercial?
All in commercial.
What attracted you to the commercial versus residential side of real estate?
I owned a small business for about 10 years and worked business to business. And I knew that I didn't want to work nights and weekends. And I have a business mind. So for me, commercial was the only way that I wanted to get into real estate. And I recognized that that was a little bit different than how most people do it. But I wanted to work in commercial from the beginning.
Sure. So it was just a natural fit. Has all that time been with Windermere?
No, I worked at NAI when they were in town. It was a newer brokerage, and Raleigh Nielsen and I had a conversation. We went to lunch one day and I joined his team, and they were acquired by Colliers. And when that happened, I went to Windermere.
I see.
Yeah.
Give us an idea as to what type of commercial transactions that you do or that you prefer to do.
I prefer to do multifamily, land, and investment sales. I don't do a lot of retail any longer. It's not my favorite.
And is that a pretty hot market these days?
Retail?
No, the multifamily.
Multifamily and land is
yes.
Absolutely in development downtown.
Whatever's available can be, you can find a buyer for.
That's right. That's right. When I owned that small business, I learned how to make cold calls. And that's one of my favorite things to do. Something in commercial real estate that most people don't do is just go out and knock on doors or make phone calls, reach out to owners and find buyers. Yeah.
Well, how did you become the president of the local chapter CCIM?
CCIM, yeah. When I joined Windermere, our broker, Grady Kohler, was the president of CCIM at the time. And in NAI, they had they encouraged us to be involved in CCIM. So it was just kind of what I thought.
Just a natural progression.
Yeah, it was what I thought I needed to do. And I wanted to get more education. I wanted to know what I didn't know. When you take the real estate exam, you can do commercial or you can do residential, and there's no designation.
Yes.
But you really don't know much about commercial without something further. So it was really important to me that I got in and I got into the numbers and that I understood what I was talking about, because it's a business decision. It needs to be backed by that education.
Of course.
In my mind.
Most people in real estate are familiar with CCIM, but tell us what the designation means.
Yeah, so it's a certified commercial investment member. The designation is a series of courses, so you have to take, there are 4 main classes, and then you have to have some continuing education and an ethics, and you have to have been a realtor for at least 2 years, and you have to have qualified experience as well. So there are a couple different ways you can get to that. You can have 3 transactions that total 30 million or 10 transactions that total 10 million, but they want to know that you have some experience and some time in the field. They want to know that you're able to put the education to use.
Sure. And that experience or time is on the commercial side.
That's right.
Versus residential.
That's right.
So how big is the local CCIM chapter?
We have about 300 members. You don't have to have a CCIM designation to be part of our chapter. And part of the networking that we get as members of the CCIM chapter is some of the best part. The commercial real estate world, I think it has some bad connotation, like the good old boys club, and that you can't get in or they won't call you back, and you hear that all the time. And part of that is getting in yourself and making yourself known and creating a name. I mean, I've only been in the industry for 6 years, but I've made sure that people in the industry know who I am.
Can you give us an idea specifically what kind of classes would be required? Just give us a couple of examples.
They're financial classes that help you evaluate the investment, so that when your client goes in, you can take a look at how much money the property is making, take a look at the NOI, talk about cap rates. So really good financial analysis, market analysis. When you're looking for a property for Starbucks, you can go into the software that CCIM offers and actually look at where the coffee shops are around. And you can take a geographical area. You can talk about drive time. You can talk about, the competition that's in the area. And from an analytical point of view, you can help your clients make a better
How long do the
decision.
classes last?
Well,
one or 2 days? Or?
The in-person classes are a week. So it's a whole week of 8 hours a day, and they are taxing and tiring. You get done with that class and you take a test at the end of that class.
I see.
So each class has its own test. You can take them online. There is a hybrid model as well. So you are able to take some of the class online and some in person. I found that the in-person really is best for me. But now that everything's on Zoom, people are getting kind of used to it. And then after you've taken those 4 classes, there is a, test review and comprehensive exam, a 6-hour exam.
6 hours?
Yeah.
So beginning to end, how long would it take an individual, assuming you qualify, you have the background, to achieve the CCIM status?
I think the average is 3 years, but it can be as quick as 2 and as long as 10.
So it's a big commitment.
It is a big commitment. Yeah.
You mentioned some of the benefits, but given the time and effort and probably expense involved, what are some of the more specific benefits of committing yourself to that process?
I think that, so when I got into real estate, I was in my late 30s. I felt like I was a little bit too old to go back to the University of Utah. Had I done it at an earlier age, I probably would have gotten into the MRED program. And when you take the MRED program from the University of Utah, you only have to take one CCIM class before you take your designation. So it's a similar type of program, and that's an official master's in real estate. So the some of the benefits, I think it was the original question you asked me. Sorry, I got away from that. The benefits are that I can help my clients make informed decisions, that we're not, that we're talking about specific numbers, and that when somebody else in the commercial real estate world sees that I have a CCIM behind my name, it makes a difference to them in terms of that they know that they're talking to somebody that has an education and can talk the talk and walk
has been
the walk.
Trained accordingly.
Right.
Once the CCIM is earned, does that mean your volume's going to just skyrocket overnight?
I don't know that it means your volume's going to skyrocket. One of the statistics is that most CCIMs do on average 45% more transactions on a yearly basis.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I'm not sure if it's the amount of time that they've spent in the industry already or the knowledge that they have. I think most people wait for a while to get the CCIM. I've talked to a lot of people that took the first class and then quit.
It was just going to be too
much,
too difficult,
yeah,
too demanding.
That's right.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Is there a difference being a commercial real estate agent in Salt Lake than being in, let's say, Phoenix or Denver or some other metropolitan area?
That's a good question. I'm not sure that I can speak to that. I have at this point not done any transactions outside of Utah. So I feel like I know the market here. I have investors here. This is kind of where I want to stay. But I get calls from other CCIMs across the nation all the time, calling me as a CCIM, looking for information about the market or looking for help to help their clients find something to buy here in Salt Lake. So it is the national market. We tend to gravitate towards each other in terms of who we would reach out to.
Certainly.
But the Salt Lake, we all call it Small Lake City. This is it's an interesting place to do commercial real estate. We're in the middle of 2020 when it seems like some of the world is falling around us. We're having a record-breaking year here in Salt Lake.
That's what I understand. The market seems to be just going vertical here.
It does.
Not only commercial, but residential as well. Downtown has at least a half a dozen major projects going on. But yet I read that there could be an exit from downtown living downtown working, that some of the commercial buildings, particularly the office buildings, may
Right.
be sitting empty.
Right.
You think that's kind of an extreme?
There is some speculation to that. Casey Conway, who is the CCIM national economist, recently gave a talk here in Salt Lake. And part of what his prediction is for exactly what you're talking about, office space in downtown, is that we've all been able to work from home. So we've found ways to adjust our work schedule and to change what that looks like. And so going into the office, we've kind of decided maybe isn't necessary. So some of the big office buildings downtown, what Casey suggested was that you might not have a group that wants 20,000 square feet on one floor downtown anymore. They might take 5,000 square feet downtown and 5,000 square feet in Sandy and 5,000 square feet in South Jordan, so that people can work from home and go to the office 1 or 2 days a week, that it isn't necessarily necessary for everyone to be in the same space. But on the other side of that, you have people that are saying, look, my people are productive, but they're not as good when they can't collaborate in person.
Sure.
And sit down and brainstorm and really come up with solutions and ideas. And that does take some in-person conversation.
Indeed.
So, and then you have Goldman Sachs downtown, who used to pack people in to an office building. So they would put one person in 150 square feet. Well, that doesn't work anymore either. So those big companies who want to stay downtown are talking about expanding their footprint because they need more space to spread people out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure that, downtown is definitely not dead. And there are a lot of projects, like you mentioned, that are going up downtown. We are in migration in Salt Lake City. We're up 15,000 people this year over last year already. They're coming in droves. I think that the coasts are coming to Salt Lake City.
If we do see this exit trend that we've read about, what's that going to do to rents? I mean, that can't be healthy for landlord or real estate investment.
My guess is they'll figure out some way to modify the space and turn them into apartments.
Sure. Well, speaking of repurposing,
right?
We've seen some major retailers exit big boxes, with thousands of square feet.
Right.
But yet we're also reading about repurposing. How do you see that playing out in the years to come?
I do think there's going to be a big shift to repurposing. The last mile transportation, a lot of those spaces are going to be taken up by the bigger Amazons or Target, even Walmart. They're all doing same day delivery, and they're
Mm-hmm.
going to need bigger warehouses closer to the people that are making these orders. And I think you'll see some of that. I have a client that's looking for big box retail to turn into storage units.
Really?
Yeah. So I think, as people maybe are living in smaller spaces, they still have things that they need,
Sure.
for storage. So I think we'll see a lot of repurposing. I have a church that's looking for a big box because they need the parking. So they need 100 and 150 stalls on a Sunday, and you can't find that anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
In typical buildings, you need a larger box.
You indicated that you periodically receive calls from out-of-state investors or
Right.
potential buyers. If one were to pose the question to you that they are looking at several different designations, Phoenix, Denver, what would you tell them would be the benefit, the value? Why should they come to Salt Lake versus some of these other cities?
We are on Salt Lake City is on everyone's radar right now. The in-migration, our economy's doing really well. Our government runs without deficit. The airport is a huge expansion for Salt Lake, which is going to draw a lot of business here. We just have so much development and so much happening here. Everyone keeps saying that we're, Denver 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Salt Lake City is getting to be so big. And
why? What's the attraction?
There is, when you're in Denver and you want to go skiing, everyone talked about Denver. That was the spot to go skiing when I was a kid. You have to drive 2 hours, and it's not convenient. And you're in Salt Lake City, and you can be in the mountains. You can be on a mountain bike. You can road bike the same day that you're skiing. So the living what you have access to in terms of being able to work here and play here, it's just more accessible. But just don't tell anyone, okay?
I understand. Back to the practice of real estate. Do most commercial licensees concentrate in one particular area of real estate, such as multifamily or retail or industrial, or is it you service whatever the market is at the time?
Yeah, so that is the trend. There are a big five big firms here in town that are run that way primarily. So the brokers within the firm choose retail or office or investment or multifamily, and they will service all of Utah. They'll go all over the nation. And then there are smaller firms like Windermere that are a little bit more boutique. I feel like I can service my clients well in Salt Lake City among all the asset classes, but I don't go outside of Salt Lake. I don't go past the point of the mountain, and I don't go north in terms of geography for my clients, because I feel like I can keep up on what the rates are here and what's happening in terms of land and multifamily in Salt Lake City. But once I go past that demographic, or once I go past that area, it gets a little bit too complicated. Mm-hmm. So it has been the trend in commercial real estate that you pick an asset class and stick to it. That seems a little bit boring to me. I prefer to do
How has commercial real estate changed over the last 20 years?
I think that it's changed in terms of the accessibility, getting back to that, good old boys club. It isn't that. You can get in as a female, not to say that it's a man versus a female world, but it has been in the past. Before I started, one of my dad's friends sat me down and said, as a woman, you need to join a man's team. You're never going to be able to do this on your own. And I said, thanks for lunch and have a good day. It's accessible. You can do it. If you get out and get a good education and can continue to better yourself and understand how to serve your clients, you can make a difference in the commercial real estate world. I don't think that was the case 20 years ago, or that's at least what he told me.
What advice would you give a young, energetic, entrepreneurial individual that just received their license and they're trying to decide whether to go residential or commercial?
I would say that you join a team. So one of the popular things in commercial real estate is, especially, at the bigger firms, they'll have a retail group that will, you have somebody that's been in it for a long time, and then he or she gets some people below them that kind of learn from the ground up. So they work on deals that they might not have been able to get themselves, but they're able to learn by working on those deals with somebody else. It's a great way to get into the industry and start to learn. So if you kind of have a knack for industrial, or if you know that you like multifamily, I would recommend interviewing with some of the bigger firms and see if one of those teams has an opening that would fit well for you. I also think that an education is a great way to go. I would say if you think that you want to get into commercial, go to take the MRED or go take those classes at the University of Utah, get your CCIM, figure out what you don't know.
Sure.
It's a big world for sure.
How has technology changed commercial real estate?
It's pretty incredible to have on your phone or your iPad to have CoStar and LoopNet and have access to that when you're out and you're looking at a building and you're thinking it might be the perfect fit for your client, to be able to find out who owns it and to understand some of the parameters of the square footage and the lot size and that sort of thing. So it's caused you to be better, and it also, it has challenges too. You have your phone on you all the time. You don't necessarily get to work 9 to 5 anymore.
Yes, indeed.
We're always...
Has technology helped in the sales process? I mean, it gives you access to all this data, but in terms of identifying new potential buyers,
absolutely.
Has that generated some positives?
Yes, absolutely. And being able to find sellers as well, and having the information right there. I think that your buyers are online and looking at what's online. If you're not up on that information and they
Hmm.
know more than that's not going to work.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, one of the components of purchasing any real estate, but particularly commercial, is financing.
Right.
Is financing readily available for your type of commercial transactions today?
It is. That is one of the things that's driving so much development and so much here in Salt Lake is
Is
rates are
the
really
availability of
low.
funds?
Yes, absolutely. Rates are really low. Um, and you can get, you can get an SBA loan if you're a business owner with 10% down,
Hmm.
and those rates are still so competitive. So it's a great time for lending. It almost doesn't make sense to pay cash for something, right? The
Sure.
leverage is so, the rates are so low that everyone's borrowing right now.
How long is that going to last?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question. Things typically change when there's a change passing of the guard, which we'll have in January. So we'll see if rates go up a little bit then. But the interest rates have certainly kept the economy moving in the right
Indeed.
direction. Yeah.
Would you say that we're at the peak, the top of the process? We had from 2008, the Great
Right.
Recession, we've had over a 10-year positive growth period. Have we peaked? Or are we close to the peak?
I think everyone thought we were getting there last year at this time when we were talking about what could happen to slow this growth. And then 2020 came, and you would have thought that the brakes would have been put on completely. And here we are. You just mentioned that I'm the third person that said this has been my best year yet.
Hmm.
We just continue to grow, and I think part of that is in reference back to people are moving here from California. People are bringing their money here, selling things in other places and coming to Utah, and they're continuing to spur the growth here in Salt Lake City. It's hard to say that we're stopping anytime soon. I don't get that sense in my business or among my clients or even among, the prices that we're seeing. I just sold an industrial at record price. I just sold an office building for record pricing. It can't continue to go in that direction forever, but I don't see what could stop it right now.
We we all know of the old economic question: at what price growth?
Right.
And we have experienced, as we just discussed, some very positive times, residential and commercial. Are are we going to end up like California with so many people, so many infrastructure issues, and the costs being almost prohibitive? Can you see that down the road, given the projected population growth? Or is that not
Unfortunately.
an issue that we should be concerned about today?
Oh, absolutely. We need to be concerned about it. Unfortunately, yes, I do think that we are headed in that direction. We need to pay attention to our transportation. We need to pay attention to the issues surrounding our air quality. You can come here because you want to ski, but when you get here and you can't see the mountains through the inversion,
Yes,
that's not
it's a
okay.
serious
It's
issue.
not. It's not sustainable. So we do need to be cautious in growth, planned in it, but it's here. They're doing their best, I think, to control it, but we all have to do that together because
Indeed.
yes, I do see a time that it's not sustainable.
Jody, we have time for one more question. And I'm curious, how does one get started in commercial real estate? Or for that matter, how does one transition from, let's say, the residential side? Now, you mentioned the education and
Right.
some of the training issues, but would a commercial real estate broker be receptive to someone that just got out of real estate school?
Yes, absolutely. I think so. You just have to have a willingness to learn and to work hard. That's what all real estate is.
Sure.
There are a lot of people in residential real estate that only do a transaction or two a year, and the growth isn't necessarily there. If somebody wants to get into commercial real estate and they're willing to work hard, there's always room for
Hmm.
that.
What would you say is the single most important personality trait of a successful commercial real estate agent?
A thick skin.
A thick skin,
Yeah.
meaning rejection.
Absolutely. Over and over. But every no is just that much closer to a yes. So if hearing no doesn't bother you, you've got this.
Great philosophy. That concludes this episode of Stringham Real Estate Edge. Today's program was brought to you by Stringham Schools, educating real estate professionals since 1989. Visit stringhamschools.com to learn more. We want to thank today's guest, Jody Jones, and don't forget to tell us what you think in the comment section below. I'm Garry Barnes, and I'll see you on the next episode of Stringham Real Estate Edge.